environment is always changing. It's always dynamic. It's getting tougher every day. We're in the business of insurance, which means protecting customers. At the end of the day, we want customers to feel safe and secure. And that starts with allowing them to feel safe and secure about sharing their information with us. So we have a high obligation to maintain that trust and protect that data, protect that information. We have over 100,000 endpoints, and when you have an estate that looks like that, particularly in a globally distributed, highly heterogeneous environment like Zurich, it's difficult to have visibility and control over all of those assets. We had very few tools prior to Tanium to be able to do that, to both allow the visibility and to be able to immediately reach out and touch a device and take some action. So Tanium was a game changer in that regard. So we were able to almost immediately have visibility to a degree that we didn't before, bring all of that asset data and that visibility into a centralized dashboard and set of tools. You know, I was approaching things from a cyber perspective, but I said, I think that this is something our IT ops folks would really love too. They said, well, that's really cool. Can we use that in some capacity? And I said, not only is the answer yes, but resoundingly so. We would love for you to use this and find additional use cases. And that's exactly what we did. That was 8 years ago, and fast forward to now, and it's played out even better than I would have imagined. So we've gotten good saturation both on the cyber side of the house and on the IT operations side of the house. And it is a set of capabilities that everybody loves. Tanium provides probably the most rich set of sources of data out of all of the tools and all of the sensing capabilities that we have. It's almost like we were blind before, feeling our way around, and now we have this very high resolution view of the environment, and that's largely thanks to Tanium.
We're really thankful for Zurich for sharing their stories. And like I said, what better way to tell our stories than through our customers? Zurich has been in the business for 150 years of managing risk for their customers. You know, something a lot of us do in this room as well for your organizations, for those you serve. And they actually serve 95% of the Fortune 500. So really amazing testimonial. And when you sort of listen to Paige, she had said a few really important things. You know, we are in the business of insurance, which means protecting our customers, right? We want our customers to feel safe and secure. Like, and I know we all share these sentiments. And finally, we have an obligation to maintain that trust and protect that information. That is something that permeates every aspect of what they do. And finally, I love this line. He had said this, which really sort of sums up what we're about. You know, Tanium was a game changer, you know, and that is our pursuit. You know, we are focused on solving problems that people haven't solved before. And, you know, make no mistake, we're seeing a tremendous amount of change. As Notorious B.I.G. Biggie once said, things done changed, right? And you know, we often would think that revolutions cause change, but it's actually the other way around. It's change that lays the foundation and the groundwork for revolution. And we're seeing a tremendous amount of change happening in society and technology today. And it's on us to help our customers be able to meet that change head on. And so when you look at it, you know, what's driving change? Well, first and foremost, it's digital transformation. It's permeating every aspect of work and life. It's creating new categories. It's disrupting existing categories. It's happening at an incredible pace, and it's here today. From self-driving cars to precision agriculture to personalized medicine to smart cities that are changing the way we interact with the world around us. Right? This is a way that companies can actually change how they drive value and communicate with their customers, right? So we're seeing this massive amount of change. And then in addition to that, the other change we're seeing is around not just how we work, but where we work from. You know, work is no longer a place. It's wherever we find inspiration. And Look, I know this might sound crazy, bear with me, but we used to get up in the morning, take a shower, get dressed, not wake up 5 minutes before a Zoom call, throw a hat on. Guilty. Then we would jump in a car, go find parking, and go to an office and sit protected by the four walls of an enterprise. And the IT and operations teams were just focused on protecting that internal networks, but that has changed, right? Now they have to adjust to reality of work from anywhere based on connected hybrid experiences. And this is basically creating a very dynamic and ever-growing perimeter. Right? And so just think of the endpoint explosion that we're seeing. Millions, billions of devices spanning laptops, desktops, mobile devices, IoT devices, sensors, cloud containers, SaaS apps. We're seeing this massive explosion in endpoint devices. I mean, just think like our personal lives, right? I got 3 teenage boys. Each one of them sits in their own room and plays online video games while watching videos of people play online video games, right? It's crazy. Is it just me? Like, I think I'm like the worst parent there is, but and it's like, I feel like the old man yelling at the clouds, and I would yell at these kids to get off my lawn, but they're all inside on connected devices anyway, There's nobody outside playing anymore. But back to business, if you look at the average enterprise, they manage over 135,000 endpoints and growing. So it's just a massive task for people to sort of take on alone. And I think that's why we're here. And so now when you look at this endpoint explosion, when you look at digital transformation, it's all about creating these incredible opportunities, right? So we want to be able to leverage this transformation, leverage work from anywhere, leverage all of these incredible devices that are permeating every different industry and all these different multiple use cases that you'll see today, and I know you all have in this audience. And we have opportunities to collect data in ways we never did before, where we can get not only answers to questions we ask, but answers to questions we didn't even think to ask. Or it can improve our efficiency, our profitability, can make us more profitable. So we want to be able to harness this great opportunity, but like anything worth having, right? There's challenges. And that's just sort of the nature of anything worth having. And there's sort of these discrete challenges that we know our customers are facing. First and foremost, it's about modernizing our legacy platforms and our environments. Eric talks a lot about paying off that technical debt that's sort of built up over time. We need to manage the ongoing compliance and regulatory demands. And finally, we have to manage the threats and the ever-growing attack surface. These are things we need to do in the face of all these changes. How do we leverage the opportunity? We need to meet these challenges head on. Look, and make no mistake, right? The threats are real. With the larger attack surface, the threats are becoming increasingly complex and difficult to defend. And the bad guys, often state-sponsored, are using the same emerging technologies to wage a highly sophisticated war against us, right? And so every day we sort of wake up, open up the newspaper, log online, turn on TV, and you see another threat, another breach, another devastating loss. And sometimes, we can get numb to these headlines, but I know it's on the IT professionals, the security professionals, the people in this room to continue to remain vigilant, right? And that's what we're here to help you. And so when you look at sort of the state of the industry today, we're going to spend $160 billion this year alone. It's forecasted to reach $400 billion in the next several years. Think about that. And why is it getting worse, right? What are we spending all this money on, yet every day you wake up and you still see these breaches? We contend that our approach is fundamentally flawed. So what we've done is we've thrown point solutions at the problem, at a very big problem, right? And these solutions only address sort of a sliver of the overall security problem, right? And some of these tools can identify a problem, but then, you got to use a different tool to actually fix it. It's like, peace out, dude, you're on your own, right? And what makes this even more complex is these tools live in different organizations in different silos. And CISOs and CIOs are often forced to stitch data across multiple different tools and wind up making decisions on things that might be inaccurate, incomplete, and stale, right? So when we look at the impact of this, there's sort of three key things. I mean, first of all, this just leads to greater complexity, right? It increases the lack of visibility. It's not helping that. And then from an increased cost perspective, just think about it. Not only do you have the cost of the tools, you have the cost to deploy them, the service and support costs, and you have the ongoing operating expense to actually run them. And this is literally at a time where we cannot afford to be spending more. We can't afford to be spending more. And look, we know this approach is failing. I went to law school, don't hold it against me. And the first week we learned this thing called res ipsa loquitur. And I promise you it is the only thing I remember for law school. It just sounded like some cool thing to say, res ipsa loquitur. But it actually means the thing speaks for itself. The plaintiff can use it to create a rebuttable presumption of negligence. There is no other plausible explanation for this. And that's what we have here. This approach is failing us, and we know that because breaches still happen, right? Outages still happen. This is a real problem that we all face. Look at this stat. Every 11 seconds, there's a ransomware attack. I think these lights mean that we're all getting attacked right now. So just get in the dramatic mood with me, please. Every 11 seconds, there's a ransomware attack, right? In some countries, it's even worse. Remember, I met with the LATAM team. They said it's every 5 seconds in Brazil. Right? So these are real problems we have to deal with. And so when you think about it, our customers are literally in the dark. Literally in the dark when it comes to this. And that's because of a lack of visibility and a lack of control. And look, you can't protect what you can't see. You can't manage what you can't see. In fact, we know that in 94% of the enterprises, they're missing up to 20% of their endpoints. And I actually just read a study late last week that actually put it at 50% of endpoints. And these bad guys, these bad actors, are exploiting the unknown. See what I did there? Like exploring the unknown, exploiting the unknown. I was sort of proud of that one. I know, it's true. My wife's like, yeah, whatever. But when you look at it, 70% of organizations have experienced breaches through unknown assets, right? They are exploiting the unknown. And the other thing is not just a visibility, it is our response time, right? The longer we take to respond, the greater our risk. When I was growing up and, I was dragging my feet, doing chores around the house, my dad would say, slow help is no help. It was like actually one of his best lines. Slow help is no help. I'm like, all right, I'll go do it. But this is what it is. Like the longer we take to respond, the exponentially our risk increases. And look, this is probably one of the most wild stats I've come across. You look at it, you go, there's no way. It takes an average of 205 days to patch a vulnerability. 205 days. And I promise you that's not marketing math. I promise you. Let me walk through what that looks like. So it starts with software vulnerability like OpenSSL v3 or Log4j. And then it becomes a race again, and that's your 0 day. And then it becomes a race against the clock where IT managers are looking to identify the vulnerability and the attackers are looking to exploit it. And while the IT security operations managers are doing their investigation, the bad guys are really exploiting the initial vulnerability and creates an initial compromise. From there, they leverage multiple different tools to move laterally within the organization, ultimately finding that data, the crown jewels that operates our business, and starts exfiltrating that data. Like on the flip side, we have IT ops and security teams that are just trying to enumerate the risk. They have to collect data across multiple teams, across multiple tools. They have to create multiple tickets to gather all of this data. They finally gather all this data, analyze it, and figure out the prioritized way to remediate. Then you start patching. It could take months. You can see how quickly you can get to 205 days, right? And in that scenario, we lose, right? The bad guys only need to get it right once, right? So that this is a real issue when it comes to the time. And then finally, in this example, and we've heard about it earlier, and we'll hear about it more today, we need to break down the silos that exist between groups. IT operations and security has to become IT operations and security. Something we have to do, we have to come together, and that is sort of the foundation of our platform, a single platform that can bridge IT operations and security. Now, let's just think about a solution, right? So, like, what if you could see every endpoint? And what if you could see every endpoint in depth? And what if you could see every endpoint in real time? And what not only you could see the endpoint, but you can remediate in real time. And imagine being able to do that from a single integrated platform, right? That is what we are delivering today with XEM, our converged endpoint management solution. It really is compelling. It's a paradigm shift, and we are really excited to be able to bring that to our customers. Now, I want to share with you really a great story. I think you guys are all familiar with Williams-Sonoma, large retailer of household goods, about $8 billion in revenue, 30,000 employees. They are actually not only known for their brick and mortar store, they're one of the top e-commerce vendors in the United States. And we'll hear from Jason Painter, who is their director of endpoint or enterprise security, and he talks to this issue of convergence and bringing teams together. So please join me in watching Williams-Sonoma.
There is never a day that you're waking up and not wondering, okay, has there been another company that's been breached? Has there been a new vulnerability that's come out? Has there a new exploit that's come out? The goal is to stay out of the news and keep your customer data safe. My team is responsible for all enterprise security for Williams-Sonoma. We have distribution and retail across the world. We use Tanium as one of our key foundations for security to monitor and maintain the health and efficiency of all of the systems across our network. There needs to be a convergence between security and IT operations. The reason that you need to have a good collaboration there is because if security is seeing something, you need the operations team to be able to respond quickly to it. If IT operations is seeing something and it's potentially malicious, you want them to be able to go to the security team and say, hey, we're seeing this going on. If you both live in your own silos, you can have something going on for hours or days that is an attacker. I started bridging that gap first by acknowledging to IT operations that Tanium was being brought in as a security tool. We weren't trying to step on their toes. We weren't trying to tell them, what they were doing was wrong. Then it was partnering with Tanium to start working with IT operations and showing where are those additional value adds. Showing them data that they're getting in one report and showing them the real-time data in another report, and then how far off that was that they don't know. They're now seeing the value in the other data. They're now more interested and eager to look at newer technologies. And now partnering with the IT teams, Tanium it's a powerful tool.
Great, another great story. And I'd say we are grateful to actually have Jason with us here today. So I'd like all of you to help me join Jason Painter, Director of Enterprise Security for Williams-Sonoma. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing the video and sharing your story. And thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
If I just ask you a few questions. First, when you were sort of making the initial decision to bring Tanium in, what drove that decision? Why did you choose Tanium in the first place?
So I've worked with Tanium at a number of other companies, and when I came into Williams-Sonoma, I was asking the first question that you've been talking about is, I need visibility, I need to know what my assets are. What do I have on my network? And I couldn't answer that question. Because I knew I had a relationship with Tanium, it was an easy, didn't have to go through a long proof of concept. I knew I could bring it in, so we brought it in. It started immediately getting that visibility that the security program was really lacking, and so that's how we started down that path.
No, fantastic, thank you. We appreciate that. And you talked a lot about bringing the teams together, sharing the tools. We saw the, sort of the downside of not being able to do that. Can you talk a little bit more about that convergence and bringing the teams together?
It's a long process. It's not easy for a lot of companies because they have built these silos. They have their, you talk to IT operations and, they usually see security as the adversary, as you kind of were mentioning. It's operations versus security. And you have to find somebody you can partner with. You have to find, a leg hold over in that part of the organization and start bridging that gap. Start not trying to replace their tools, but trying to help them understand where security is coming from with what we're seeing and showing them the gaps that they're getting in the tooling that they have. And the more you can kind of work with them to help explain and show, the more they become interested in coming to you and asking questions because they started identifying their own gaps.
No, that's fantastic. And we've sort of seen the incredible amount of progress you've made and really the scope of what you're doing and the size of business you're protecting. As you stand today and look forward, what's your vision for Williams-Sonoma? Like what's next with respect to security and protecting your assets?
Really, I think that it's looking at where's the next threat coming from and trying to be proactive and get ahead of that. And really what it comes down to is making sure you have the data, making sure that you have tooling that's giving you that visibility, because when you have the next Log4j or whatever that exploit is going to be, the first things they're going to ask you is this in our environment? And if you don't have a way of quickly finding out, you're going to be the days and weeks behind again. So I think, really making sure that we're looking forward, we're taking automation, we're trying to streamline these processes, and really, our goal is to start making decisions in real time.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much, Jason, for joining us. Everybody give it up for Jason. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, really appreciate it. I really appreciate that. Now, I thought what we can do is start actually diving into the platform itself. Talk about this platform that we're delivering to market with XCM. And when you look at the platform, there's sort of three core value props that we're delivering, three core areas of focus. And that is around visibility, control, and remediation. That's how we feel Orion would say, we've earned our opportunity to serve our customers. And it's not just about offering these three pieces, it's also how we do it. It's differentiated with respect to the ability to do things in real time visibility, real-time remediation. Cloud delivered, I think like hybrid is the new black, right? You have to be able to deliver on-prem as well as be able to deliver cloud scale to be able to help our customers scale and meet this ever exploding demand for managing endpoints. And then automation, and we'll hear a lot more about that, being able to automate some of the core tasks, have those core integrations into your infrastructure and your security platforms, which ultimately will help us speed up our time to remediation, as well as help us save on resource costs, which ultimately is some of the end benefit, making us safer while reducing cost. Now, when you look at our platform over the decades, we've done a tremendous amount of innovation. We've delivered multiple modules to market, and we continue to do so, spanning IT operations, spanning security. And what we've done in the last year is we've packaged up those modules into discrete solution areas in order to really align with our customer use cases, right? Be able to sort of simplify how we work together. Those solutions being around asset discovery and inventory, or client management, or risk and compliance, sensitive data monitoring, and threat hunting. But importantly, it really is about being greater than just the sum of the parts, right? When you look at each one of these, our goal is to be best in class in each solution area. So whether that's complete environment discovery or OS agnostic patch distribution, right? When we look at risk and compliance, it's about real-time risk prioritization. For sensitive data monitoring, it's user data access tracking wherever it might happen to be. And when we think of threat hunting, integrated investigation and remediation. So we strive not just to sort of be broad, but be deep in each category. And support the largest ecosystem of endpoints across different operating systems, IoT devices, cloud containers, servers, right? Virtual environments. And then plug into industry standard infrastructure and security platforms through open APIs and the integration work that we've done. And then finally, to sort of bring it back to where we started, we look at these solution areas in the backdrop of the point solutions. So you can sort of see from this where if you had to put this together, you'd have to stitch together multiple different tools from multiple vendors to get what you could get from a single integrated platform. And that, quickly is our CONVERGE Endpoint Management solution. And ultimately, that's how we are focused on and how we're able to hopefully deliver certainty in uncertain times. Now, just a few more great stories I'd love to share with you. And I love when this builds out because you can see every size company in every industry. We serve 70% of the Fortune 100. We support our armed service. We support our intelligence agencies and those of our allies. We have this emerging mid-market business, so our cloud product can actually secure any size organization. I just want to highlight a few of these different industries. First one is Con Edison. So Con Edison is focused on providing power to 10 million people. 10 million people. And they have to ensure that continuity by managing thousands of devices, right? And they were using different endpoint tools, but sometimes they were unable to confirm if one tool was running or not. Something might break and it was a manual task to actually fix it. And they wound up deploying Tanium and then adding multiple modules over time. And just sort of a great quote that I love from their CISO, which is, Tanium's massive ecosystem offers valuable capabilities. So this was the ecosystem of adding different modules, adding different solution areas over time. Next is Genpact. So Genpact is a growing, sort of explosive growth professional services organization. They are a hyper-growth firm that is supporting 100,000 employees. I mean, think of it, 100,000 employees. It's just a tremendous amount of growth. And with that growth, they had explosion in their endpoints, and they needed to deal with it. But their existing tools hit a wall. They hit limits, and it couldn't match their pace of growth, right? So they spent days troubleshooting, thought they would fix something, and the problem would just come back. They chose Tanium Cloud because ultimately provided the scale, reduce the cost and improve productivity and improve their security posture. And I love this. They saved 75% of the networking and hosting cost while meeting 99.9% compliance, right? These things aren't mutually exclusive. You can reduce costs and improve your security. And I love this quote from them. With Tanium, we were able to improve every single security metric. Finally, another great use case in a completely different industry. This is AutoNation. AutoNation is actually America's largest automotive retailer. And so really interesting. I actually didn't know that they were that big. And they were struggling to keep up with their patching and do that in a timely manner. There were times where they had hundreds of thousands of device patches that actually went missing, or were missing, sorry. And they reduced the remediation time from days to less than an hour deploying Tanium. From days to less than an hour. Think about what we talked about. The more time it takes, the more risk you have, right? Exponentially increases. And their patches were deployed at a first pass success rate of 99%. So different companies in different industries, all seeing value from our XCM platform. I think AutoNation's got like my favorite quote. I love this one. In my career, I've never seen this level of visibility, the CISO of AutoNation. So really, just sort of incredible examples of driving real outcomes. And just a quick note, we've really been focused, and you'll see this spotlighted throughout the week on our ecosystem. Serving these customers is not something we do by ourselves, right? This is a path we walk with the customer, with our partners, and we've built this broad ecosystem, right? Spanning strategic integration partners. We heard from Microsoft, global service integrators and managed service providers, distribution as well as reseller partners. We're focused on building this ecosystem and being the reference platform for visibility and remediation so we can better serve our customers. And this is all about driving real outcomes for businesses as well as for people. And I just want to share one last story with you. I can't think of a better example of really important outcomes. This is Sutter Health. So they're a not-for-profit healthcare network in California. They run 24 hospitals, over 200 clinics, and they serve 3 million patients. And they've been a leader in healthcare technology. They actually delivered the first all-digital ICU. So they're just sort of a great example. And it's not just about the innovation in healthcare tech. They are very focused on protecting patients from the devastating loss that can happen from data breach. Please join me in watching Sutter Health.
Sutter Health is a non-for-profit integrated healthcare delivery system. We have hospitals, clinical locations, mostly based in Northern California. I care about security for Sutter Health because we protect patients. And if we're not keeping their data and the physicality safe, we're not following our mission to really provide the best patient care possible to all 3 million of our patients every year. Anybody who's working on my team has to be mission-driven, realizing that every single organization, particularly in healthcare, is vulnerable to cyber attacks. We were one of the first early adopters, and I believe the very first healthcare customer leveraging Tanium. And originally, we were really looking at just getting a full visibility into our endpoints, and it's become much more than that today. Third party has always been a big concern of mine. We need to spend time finding ways to help our third parties address cybersecurity in the same way that we do. And because we're so interconnected with physicians, I was very concerned about how we could actually address it. And that's when we ran into Cylytic.
Cybersecurity works with large enterprises to help protect their small to medium third parties that they do business with. Sutter is already an existing Tanium customer, so it was a very positive moment when we shared our set of capabilities and our Tanium partnership. The largest threat vector now are these third parties, and a small physician office is a great example of a small to medium business with not much cybersecurity capability that also have disproportionate risk. How do we democratize that great capability that Sutter Health has, but for small to medium businesses?
We have 24,000 vendors. So the risk is big, but we have the ability with Cylytic to see they have Tanium installed on the endpoints. When I wake up in the morning, I think about patients and I think about them when I go to bed. And I love what Tanium has done in partnership with Cylytic. They're offering the technology to the biggest risk areas that don't have the same cybersecurity, both from a knowledge standpoint and financial standpoint, to protect on their own. I felt like I was giving a service to our community, while at the same time, I was able to help our shared patients become protected from cyber attacks.
All right. We can give it up. Can we give it up for that? Yeah. No, I mean, what an incredible story. I mean, you don't think about it in the context of the loss that breach could happen outside of sort of monetary loss, right? So I think it brings it home. And, you know, that's the note I want to end on. I think, you know, that's what our pursuit is really all about. You know, we were sort of founded on this ideal of being able to innovate and solve problems that people thought were unsolvable, solve problems that hadn't been solved before, and really being a trusted partner to our customers, right? This is a journey that none of us can walk alone. And we're excited that you're all here. We're excited to continue to walk this path for you. We are committed to you. We are committed to this pursuit. And I want to thank you for your time and hope you enjoy the rest of the week. So thank you so much.